When Andrew Tate called Jake Paul out a couple of weeks ago, most people thought the matter would die without much fanfare. However, recent news suggests that Jake and his brother Logan are preparing for a takedown of Andrew Tate on their podcast show. Ahead, we highlight everything that's happened so far. And as much as Jake and Logan Paul have been lauded for kicking off the YouTuber boxing show match, along with KSI and Deji, their job isn't nearly as easy as it seems. Sure, there may be a huge market for viewing the fight. However, the fraction of serious boxers who actually want to participate hasn't been growing as rapidly as they'd like. Initially, when they were desperate for opposition, the Paul brothers would settle for whatever fight they could get. But as their business grows, they've been trying to secure more and more hype matchups. Obviously, their dream scenarios have been to lock fights with worldwide personalities like Elon Musk, Shaquille O'Neal, and Mike Tyson. But for now, they are ready to settle for some smaller names.
Entertain this perspective. If Jake Paul wasn't Jake Paul, if he wasn't this YouTube guy, he was just a boxer, and you see a boxer knock out the former UFC welterweight champion, not just the former, but one of the best ever, knock him out with one punch like that, you'd be like, oh man, have you seen this Jake Paul dude coming up? He's fucking for real. Because nothing about watching him fight, to me, screams like he's in over his head. Nothing. He looks like a real boxer. He looks like a real boxer. He doesn't look like a guy who's attempting boxing. That's the difference. The feints, the foot movement, the way he lands shots. He fights like a boxer. He doesn't fight like a guy who's trying to box in a celebrity boxing match. He fights like a boxer.
No, because
if he wasn't that guy, I'm saying if he wasn't that big YouTube star, and you just saw him as a boxing contender, you'd be like, that dude's got dynamite in his hands.
A couple of weeks ago, Jake Paul was set to fight Tommy Fury at Madison Square Garden on August 6th. The fight had generated a bit of hype, seeing as Tommy was the brother of Tyson Fury and had also acquired quite a following of his own due to his exploits on reality TV. Unfortunately for Jake, Tommy pulled out very late, leaving him without opposition. Jake, understandably angry, threatened legal action while looking for another opponent. Luckily, he was able to secure one in the shape of Hasim Rahman Jr., a heavyweight with an impressive record, but even this victory came with its drawbacks, as Hasim Rahman embarrassed him during their pre-match conference by stating that his fights are fake and that everyone has to use handicaps against him.
Logan boxed Joey DeJeco and then I boxed Jake. Logan almost got his head taken off by Joey. So then they had to, it was like, all right,
let's keep it on low.
Let's get this, let's just get him out of there with him. And then they put me in with Jake, and it's like, no, I don't want to, I get nothing out of tearing off a YouTuber's head. And then these guys are trying to, they explain to us like they just getting in the boxing. And so what do I get from stopping this kid? He was probably like 22, 23 at the time, maybe. But like, what do I get from just stopping this kid from boxing? It's something that he wants to do, and it's pretty cool because actually I trained Overflow for his bout that was overseas on an undercard where Jake Paul fought DG. So I had known about the YouTube becoming a boxing thing, and
this incident prompted a surge of Jake Paul-related conversations in the media, so much so that certain incidents from the past started to get unearthed. For instance, Andrew Tate went on a podcast and said that he tried fighting Jake Paul for $3 million in 2022. Nonetheless, Jake Paul turned him down. When asked about Jake's reasoning, Tate says that he suspects Jake is afraid of him. He said he wanted to give Jake a real fight, but since that doesn't fit his business model, he turned it down. Tate said that unlike most of the other guys who faced Jake Paul, he isn't intimidated by his fame or his money, and so he can really teach him a lesson. And he suspects that since Jake knows this, he's trying to stay away from him.
You're not the best. You can go to Dagestan and find some kid who has no cash who would smoke you. And everybody knows it, right? So that was the video was about. And I said, look, if you want to fight a real fighter, you can fight me because I'm genuinely upset at you. On the other hand, part of me likes Jake Paul.
Right.
Part of me respects his hustle. And I want to make another point here. I put on Twitter publicly that he was going to smoke Ben Askren in less than a minute, about an hour before the fight. And everyone was calling me crazy. Askren's a fighter, did all this shit. I want you guys to understand something about Jake Paul. He is not just a YouTuber. He is a young man training with Canelo and Ryan Garcia. And with a lot of money and all the time in the world to train with the best camp in the world. He can box. The idea, he's smart. He doesn't say that. I'm just a YouTuber. But what he really is a student of the game who's 3 or 4 years into training with one of the best camps in the world, who has all the money for the best rehabilitation, the best diet, all that, blah, blah, blah. So he can box. I'm not saying the guy can't fight, but I'd still whoop his ass.
At the time that Andrew Tate first released these statements, no one was expecting much of a response from Jake Paul. The common assumption was that he was busy preparing for his August 6th fight. However, Jake did find time to say one thing, and that was that he had completely no idea who Andrew Tate was. This comment from Jake just may have been a mistake, since instead of ending the conversation, it ignited to new levels. Many people began to wonder about Andrew Tate's personality and do their own digging into his background. As it turned out, Tate was a wealthy personality of his own with a net worth of about $100 million. According to Tate's own proclamations, he has a career record of 78 wins and 9 losses. So much discussion about Andrew Tate and Jake Paul has gone on for so long that now the Paul brothers feel compelled to respond to his claims. In a recent snippet shared on social media, they are planning to discuss him at length on their podcast show. In their own words, they have a special message for him. Some people have reasoned that this special message could be a formal fight call-out. Despite initial thinking that Jake was avoiding Tate because he didn't want to fight a kickboxer, things may have escalated to the level where they can now only solve their differences in the ring.
Are you going to fight Jake Paul?
Listen, I would smash him up. Okay, let's talk 2 things about Jake Paul, firstly, right? So I challenged Jake Paul. I made a Jake Paul challenge video. It's on YouTube somewhere. It went really big on Twitter because I challenged him because he is a very fortunate young man. And he's fortunate because he's extremely rich, because he's allowed himself to become the biggest clown on the internet, and now he's famous, right? Because he's an idiot. But he has a bunch of money, so he gets to make a bunch of money from fighting. And the reason that upsets me is because most of the real fighters out here know it's a terrible career path. It's extremely difficult to make any money from fighting. There's so much luck involved, so much hard work, so much sweat. You're broke for so long.
So what do you think of this entire debacle featuring Jake Paul and Andrew Tate? Are you rubbing your hands in anticipation of what is to come, or are you rolling your hands at yet another internet dispute involving the Paul brothers? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We really appreciate your input. Knowing how these things go, this is not the last we'll be hearing on this matter. Once the Paul brothers respond, Andrew Tate will hit back. And knowing the Paul brothers, there's no way they'll allow him to have the final word. To make sure you don't miss out on anything, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Our content is always timely, informative, and engaging. Alright, that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and share if you enjoyed it. Until next time, have a great one. Catch you later.